Coming down the aisle, the podcast tag team champions of the world, the Rage and Blaze Show. Welcome back to another episode of the Rage and Blaze Show. I'm Rage.
And I am Blaze.
Now, this is part 2 of our WrestleMania 2 rewatch. Now, we've already seen the NFL WWF Battle Royal where Andre the Giant was the last man standing. We've seen Mr. T and Roddy Piper. We've seen Jake the Snake Roberts. We've seen
Macho Man Randy Savage
taking on the Animal, George the Animal Steele. So far, this has been a really good WrestleMania. A lot better than WrestleMania 1. You can tell the production value is up, and it just feels bigger, better, and it's even in 3 different cities, which is the first, last, and only time they've done this. So far, this has been one really good WrestleMania. What do you think?
Yes, definitely better than WrestleMania 1. It still is not as huge as we're used to it. I mean, we're still not getting a lot of entrances. Every once in a while, one of the wrestlers gets a cool special entrance. But for the most part, no entrances for most of the wrestlers. No big fireworks. We're still not in the granddaddy of them all.
Yeah, you can definitely tell there's a growth, but it just hasn't quite got to what we know and love today. Well, until this past WrestleMania, obviously, which just felt different than anything else.
That's because of the pandemic that's going on.
Obviously, but we'll get to that. So, speaking of obviously, after we recorded our last show, Blaze, you pointed something out to me. What was that?
Well, Rage, you tend to say the phrase obviously a lot.
Okay, so I thought about this since you brought this up, and I obviously like to say it, otherwise I wouldn't say it. And instead of me feeling like I have a problem in what I say, I think I'm going to flip this around on you. I think we are going to start our first Rage and Blaze Show drinking game. How does that sound?
Oh, that sounds great. I always like drinking.
So anytime you hear me say obviously, take a drink.
Take a shot.
Who knows? Maybe this will grow. Who knows? This might become a thing.
We may create a bunch of alcoholics.
Or we might kill a lot of people with alcohol poisoning. We don't know how this is going to go.
Here at the Rage and Blaze Show, we promote safe driving, not drinking and driving. So drink responsibly.
So listen to this on your couch and not at the bar.
Yes, please.
Okay, so we're going to go back to WrestleMania 2. Last time we left off at the WWF versus NFL Battle Royal where Andre the Giant was the last man standing. So after that match, we start this podcast off with having a post-interview with Roddy Piper with Vince McMahon. So he gives this interview, talks about how he's happy that he don't have to follow along with stipulations of the match, because he did not get knocked out by Mr. T. Instead, he got disqualified, but since he didn't get knocked out, he feels that he shouldn't have to follow along with the stipulations that they made in this match.
Yeah, it was a pretty good interview. I love watching Roddy Piper. Once again, he gets a little racy, but he's playing the ultimate heel. He is. He's playing the ultimate heel. I love the way he delivers his promos. I love the way he talks. He has this way of, he'll just be talking through an interview and it's like, no one can touch me! He has this like high-pitched register that's really fun. I love the way he delivers his promos.
Yeah, and in the first WrestleMania, you notice that really Hogan's the only one that gets on the mic and sounds you could just tell
Like
he's electric, he's a star. And in this WrestleMania, you finally get other people that get to talk, and sure enough, we get Rowdy Piper, which is one of the best. And so it's kind of funny because he was in WrestleMania 1, but he never got on the mic. We finally get to hear him on the mic in this WrestleMania, and he sounds great. He's an absolute legend.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites on the mic, to be honest with you.
And don't forget, you can follow along with us on any of these WrestleManias. They are all on WWE Network. Download the app on your phone, Xbox, PlayStation, doesn't matter. I'm sure you can find the app. So, moving on, they went to Chicago next, and they did a post-interview with Jimbo Covert, who was a member of the Battle Royal we just watched. And he feels he was screwed over. He feels that he was helping somebody else. I think it was Refrigerator Perry he was helping. And he said, and then I got eliminated for helping, And then Mean Gene goes on to interview the Iron Sheik and ask him his opinions about the Battle Royal. And then after that, we move on to the next match. So, the next match is for the WWF Tag Team Champions of the World. And announced in the ring, which I kind of felt was a little disrespectful because these are the champions after all. But you have the Dream Team, Brutus Beefcake, still not the barber, and Greg the Hammer Valentine. And they are brought out with Johnny Valiant. Now, I found it a little disrespectful. These are the tag team champions, and they don't get an intro. But, I mean, you would think being the champions, you would kind of come out second. You'd be more of a bigger deal, have some entrance music, but that's not what we got here.
And it's not like these aren't stars. I mean, this is Brutus Beefcake and Greg the Hammer Valentine. Both are in the WWE Hall of Fame.
Obviously, they both are, and they're absolute legends. So then we get music, we get like the British music going, and you get the tag team of the British Bulldogs. And that consists of Davey Boy Smith and Dynamite Kid. They are accompanied by the Captain Lou Albano and Ozzy Osbourne.
Looking very, very 80s and not scary at all.
It looks healthy, though.
Sure.
I mean, blonde hair, just looks healthy. I mean, growing up, I love Black Sabbath, love Ozzy Osbourne. I saw him at Ozfest several times.
I've seen him at Ozfest as well.
And, he's obviously older and obviously...
Drink.
He probably did.
He did. Drugs and drinking, yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that going on.
He looked a little rough. I mean, he still performed really well, but he always looked rough when I saw him. But, Father Time and all that got to him, and drugs and alcohol. Yes. So... But anyhow, he looks really good, really healthy here.
He was slightly more coherent at the end of the match when they had an interview with him.
Yeah, they did. They interviewed him, but we're getting ahead of ourselves now because we really want to talk about this match because we gave our opinions on our favorite match so far at the end of part 1 of this podcast, and I'm already saying it here, and obviously I could change my mind before the end of this podcast, but this was an exciting match. This was a wrestling clinic by legends. 3 out of the 4 people in the ring are inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame.
And one of them I've never heard of.
Well,
other than I've heard of the British or the British Bulldogs, I've just never. Yeah, I don't remember him very much.
You knew Davey Boy Smith was a part of the British Bulldog tag team. You just couldn't remember the other. Yeah, the other name, which would be Dynamite Kid.
I remember Davey Boy Smith more in the Hart Foundation. I knew he was part of a tag team called the British Bulldogs, but I remember his time in the Hart Foundation.
So you remember him more as Bret Hart's brother-in-law, as opposed to his career before any of that.
Yeah.
Which was more into the 90s.
Yeah.
And he's absolutely an amazing, phenomenal wrestler. Just as a tag team, that was a little early for us.
Yeah, I mean, we watched wrestling when we were little kids with our stepbrother Tim, and we watched, Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan,
Sergeant Slaughter,
some of that,
Jake the Snake.
But there was a lot of that we probably watched, and I mean, that was the 80s, and I was less than 10 years old.
Yeah, we were young. We remember the big names in history, and obviously British Bulldog is a big name in history, but he was a tag team.
Well, he went on to have a bigger career, or his career continued when we were watching it more regularly in the 90s, where I don't know what happened to the Dynamite Kid. Is that his name?
Yeah, it says I looked him up. It looks like he retired in like 96. So I'm guessing, his career. I'm guessing after the tag team thing was over, his career just didn't take off like Davey Boy Smith's did. Mm-hmm. But I guess marrying into the legendary Hart family, sure helped his career very much. Now I'm not taking anything away from him. He is a phenomenal wrestler.
It was a great match by all involved.
But I'm just saying, having friends like that, I'm sure helped his career.
Yep, definitely agree. So let's talk about this match.
Okay, so this match was just amazing. It was a wrestling clinic. We absolutely loved this match, and it's already skyrocketed to the top of my list of favorite matches of WrestleMania 2. These guys, it was a back and forth. They knew what they were doing.
Really good moves. I really enjoyed the vertical suplex was that Davey Boy? I
think it was Davey Boy Smith did it on, I believe it was Greg the Hammer Valentine. He lifted up and did a vertical suplex that just looked, and he held him up there for a couple seconds before he dropped him.
And there was also that gorilla press body slam that was really good.
Very good. There was one right off the top rope.
Just very clean, well done wrestling.
Yes, to me, this is the type of wrestling that I absolutely love. This is just when guys can go back and forth and just put on a clinic like this. This is what I love about wrestling.
Yeah, I believe in the last episode I said my favorite match was the Macho Man match, and I feel like that's more because I absolutely love Macho Man. And it was a fun heel match because Macho Man kept running out of the ring and everything, where this one is a better match.
Oh, by far.
Really good wrestling in this one.
Yeah, and so the match ends with, I believe it was Davey Boy Smith throws...
Greg the Hammer Valentine.
Was it Greg the Hammer Valentine?
Yeah, because...
Throws him into the Dynamite Kid's head instead of the turnbuckle in the corner, and they have a headbutt, and that's how the match ends. Davey Boy Smith pins him, 1, 2, 3, and we have new WWF Tag Team Champions.
Now, I have things to say about this, Rage.
What's your problem?
So, Greg the Hammer Valentine, he was doing a pin, and he noticed that Davey Boy Smith was not doing very well. So he stopped that pin at the 2 count for him. He was being good, and then Davey Boy just throws him into another wrestler.
Oh, come on, Blaze.
He was trying to help him out.
It's a tag team match.
He was trying to help him out, and he just takes advantage and wins the match. And then poor Brutus, he's trying to stop this unfair pin, and he gets caught up in the ropes and he trips. I mean, it was just terrible ending, I must say.
Oh, come on
Such
now.
a good wrestling match. Terrible ending.
I think the correct team won. We have new champions. Congratulations to them. They have a post-interview after the match, and they interview Davey Boy. They interview Dynamite. They also interview Captain Lou Albano. We get to hear him on the mic. and then we get to hear Ozzy Osbourne speak, which sounds very Ozzy Osbourne-ish. Anybody who's heard Ozzy talk.
Except for you could understand him slightly better than
you could.
now.
Actually, it didn't sound as rubbish as it does now. He's kind of mumbled, whatever, but you could definitely understand his words, but you could still tell he talks like he sings, and he sings like he talks. That's Ozzy Osbourne.
Fair.
Something I'd like to point out that I noticed is that they had billed the WWF versus NFL Battle Royal as the main event of Chicago, but yet what we get as the real main event is the WWF Tag Team Championship match. Now, I'm okay with that being the main event, but why did they bill it in such a way and then still have another match in Chicago? I found that kind of odd.
Yeah, it was odd. My only theory is that you got Andre the Giant in it, you got the Hart Foundation in it, you also got the NFL stars in it, and if I'm not mistaken, you had some Chicago Bears in there, and wasn't it in 1985 that the Chicago Bears won the Super Bowl and did the Super Bowl shuffle?
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look. I'm not a Bears fan, so I can't really speak on that. But I'm just kind of confused because they mentioned that there was going to be a main event in each city. And so you had Roddy Piper, Mr. T, the main event. Then you have the NFL WWF Battle Royal as the main event. And then, of course, Hogan and Andre the Giant is the main event and in L.A. But it's just kind of odd to me that you would bill this as the main event, and all you had to do was make sure it was the last match in Chicago. But instead, they move on to the Tag Team Championship match, and that is actually the last match in Chicago before they move on to L.A. So to me, it was just kind of odd. Just the placing of the match, not really. I understand why the Battle Royal is the main event. It's just weird that they didn't, have them wrestle in that order.
Yeah, it might have been as simple as it was just easier to get everybody to show up. Like, it might have been just a scheduling thing because of the NFL players or something.
Maybe so. All right, so we're going to move on. I believe
I did just check. The Chicago Bears did win the Super Bowl. It was technically 1986, but as you know, the Super Bowl is always at the beginning of the year.
Well, this was April 7th, 1986. So this would have been after that Super Bowl.
It would have been literally right after the Chicago Bears won the Super Bowl and
Fair enough.
Super Bowl shuffle.
Okay, so now let's move on. We are going to be moving on to the LA portion of WrestleMania 2.
LA.
Okay, so we are on to the LA portion of the show where we get Jesse the Body Ventura. He introduces himself. He introduces Lord Alfred Hayes and the lovely Elvira. This is going to be our commentators for the LA portion of WrestleMania 2.
Yeah, it was nice seeing Elvira. I always liked Elvira.
Yeah, so giddy up, boom, bop, bow, bow. So here we go.
Elvira.
So here we go with the next match. We have Hercules Hernandez versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Now, this is just a regular singles match. No titles are on the line. But I'll tell you what, this was a lot better match than the Dragon had in WrestleMania 1, by far.
Well, he had a much better opponent this time.
Yeah, so this match starts off with Hercules using his brute strength to take over, but that doesn't last long because Ricky starts using his speed to start getting the upper hand.
Yeah, Hercules definitely lived up to his name. He did a lot of good power moves. It was a pretty good display. I've never heard of Hercules Hernandez.
Oh, you don't remember Hercules Hernandez?
No, have you?
I actually don't remember the Hernandez part of his name, but I do remember the wrestler Hercules.
Oh.
But
are you sure it's the same guy?
You know what? I assumed it is. I mean, how many WWF wrestlers are going to be called Hercules?
Hercules is popular in myth and fiction, so it's very possible there's another guy who didn't have...
Well, I'll have to look it up, but I believe it's the Hercules that I remember as a kid, but...
Also, I believe we have a correction.
Oh, yes, we do have a correction. So when I was talking about the New York, Chicago, and LA portions of the show, I accidentally said that the LA portion of the show, the main event, was Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. It is actually Hulk Hogan and King Kong Bundy in a steel cage match for the WWF World Heavyweight Championship.
That's what we have to look forward to next pay-per-view we're watching.
Yes, our next podcast will be about WrestleMania 3, where you had the iconic Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant match.
Correct.
So, and we have a little bit of a special guest coming on for the very first time on our podcast. We will be welcoming Warren to the show.
Yeah, a giant amongst our family.
Yes, so Warren is our cousin. He is 6'8". So we thought it would be befitting to ask him to join us on the iconic WrestleMania 3 where Andre faces Hulk Hogan, which I think Hogan is actually 6'8".
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. So we're going to talk to him about being that big and everything, and we'll also talk about wrestling action figures on that show with him.
Yeah, he has a popular YouTube channel, Ohio Nerd, where he goes to toy shows and checks out different collectible toys.
Yeah, so anybody that's going to know anything about wrestling action figures, this is the guy to talk to. He definitely knows his figures and he knows about all sorts of figures, not just wrestling figures, but we will definitely talk to him about that, and that'll be on our next podcast.
All right.
So moving on, we had this match was very back and forth. It really was. It was a great match. There was one little botch in the match, though, where Hercules threw Ricky up against the ropes. He's supposed to come back, and they're supposed to do like a spinning power slam. And
we're not watching this now.
I'm sorry.
What is going on, Ray?
Somehow the TV got unpaused. So anyhow,
we have Ghost.
So he's supposed to do a running, spinning power slam. Hercules is supposed to pick him up and flip him and power slam him down. And for whatever reasoning, I don't know if the timing was off, but as Ricky started coming towards him, they didn't really connect. It kind of looked awkward. Ricky kind of stops right in front of him and then just, oddly lets him pick him up and slam him anyhow, but it didn't flow the way it was supposed to, work. So that I don't know if there was just a timing issue with the wrestlers or what happened there, but we did notice that during the match that there was just a little bit of a botch. But the rest of the match seemed to flow pretty good. It was a really good match with the exception of that one little stain on the match, and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, he goes up to the top rope, does his signature crossbody, flying crossbody onto Hercules, and he gets the 1, 2, 3.
Yes, it was a very good match. Not better than that tag team match we just watched.
No, still that tag team match is the definitely the best so far.
Still not getting to see Ricky at his best, but I know that in the next one, WrestleMania 3, there is a legendary Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Macho Man Randy Savage match.
Looking forward to that.
That I have been told, and I've never got to watch it, so I'm super excited about this, that it's considered one of the greatest matches of all time. So I am really looking forward to that.
Well, we'll be the judge of that when we watch it. I know I've seen it, but it's been several years since I've sat and watched it. But looking forward to that match. But we're moving kind of ahead of ourselves. So let's stick to WrestleMania 2. We're going to move on to the next match. Okay, so this next match is against two guys that I don't really remember either one of them.
And I think that's probably for the best.
Okay, so first we've got the adorable Adrian Adonis with, of course, complete legend, the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, who managed multiple wrestlers at this time. I mean, he was always, heck, I think in WrestleMania 1 we saw him twice come out.
Yeah, it's not like nowadays when you're a manager, you manage one person or one group, and you stick to that group.
And you're kind of a part of that group. Like, I think Lita with the Hardy Boys, Team Extreme, she wasn't going around valeting for other tag teams.
Paul Bearer with Undertaker.
Right, he was either with Undertaker or he was with Kane.
But he usually wasn't a bunch of different ones all at once, yeah.
So anyhow, and then his opponent is Uncle Elmer.
Uh-huh.
Who's, he's in a big hillbilly getup.
Yeah, he looked like something from, I work at a haunted house. Or haunted trail, to be exact. And both of these guys look like something from my trail. In fact, I'm the hillbilly guy that was that wrestler. And then a friend of mine who comes out and wears a dress, has better makeup than Adrian Adonis, though. And this guy, Adrian Adonis, I mean, he came out with a dress. I mean, this was not a good moment for WWE in my book.
Well, keep in mind this is 1986, so a lot of stereotypes in 1986.
Well, we're doing a podcast in 2020, and it was a little rough to watch. I mean, it was not a terrible match. Adrian Adonis really oversells every move, and in that aspect, it was entertaining. But it really felt like WWE was going for the hillbilly beating the crap out of the cross-dressing male, and it just was almost uncomfortable to watch.
But I'd also like to point out this was definitely meant to be a comedy moment of
I know what
show.
they were going for.
This match was, I mean, I'm sure they all take it seriously, but this match felt like it was kind of a break from some serious matches, and they wanted to give the crowd something more kind of funny, and that's the hillbilly chasing the guy in makeup and a dress. And so they even rips the dress off halfway through the match.
Yeah, and I'm just pointing out that watching it in retrospect in 2020, this would not fly today.
No, probably not. So, but anyhow, so this match is just, like I said, it is what it is. It wasn't fantastic wrestling. Matter of fact, it was against two heavyweight guys that are both a little heavy set, and Elvira chose to point that out during the match. She even made a comment about, well, that's a lot of cellulite in that ring at one time. So she even kind of poked fun at how heavy set both of these guys are.
I'll tell you what, that Adonis, though, as big as he was, he sells those moves, and it was impressive on that aspect of the match. And I was very surprised they let Adonis be the winner of this match.
Oh, yeah, and there you go. That's another good point. They did let him win. They didn't just let him get beat down. But
he's also the heel.
Was the end. But, yeah, he won this match. I thought Uncle Elmer kind of looked slow, where Adonis, even for his size, was kind of moving around and kind of energetic.
Uncle Elmer looked like the guy from Punch-Out.
Yeah.
He moved like him.
That was pretty good. Yeah, the
King Hippo.
King Hippo? No, I'm thinking, okay, so Super Punch-Out.
Oh,
the
yeah,
sequel
yeah.
on Super Nintendo, there's a character, I'd have to Google and remember his name. Bear Hugger.
Bear Hugger.
Yes. That's his name. I didn't have to Google it.
He looked exactly like Bear Hugger.
Oh, he did. It was like Bear Hugger was created based off of Uncle Elmer. I knew I'd seen this guy before.
Right.
I was Little Mac when I saw him. I think he's actually like the first guy you faced, or maybe first
he was
couple
the first.
guys.
I think he was the first guy you faced. Well,
he was in that first section of that belt. But I mean, we're kind of getting out of it. You know, we're gamers. It is what it is. So I mean, we're just kind of pointing things out that we noticed. But that bear hugger from Super Nintendo, that's exactly what he looked like. I didn't catch that until we're talking about it.
It just popped in my head.
Oh, I mean, King Hippo. Don't get me wrong. That's more. I mean, who would you think the WWF equivalent of King Hippo would be?
I don't know if there is one.
No, don't know if there is one.
But Bear Hugger is exactly what
King Kong Bundy can't be too far off.
Oh, close.
You put I mean, say they had the King of the Ring back then, and they put a crown on his head. I mean, there you go. That's kind of King Hippo.
We'll know they stole that as soon as King Hippo goes down with one punch from Hulk Hogan and can't get up.
Yeah, we'll see. Stars flying over his head. It'd be fun to watch. Okay, so we're going to move on. It looks like they're about to interview Hulk Hogan right now and probably talk to him about his King Kong Bundy match coming up.
Yep.